Hey everybody, before this video begins, I just want to let you know that I am going to try to make these story, book, movie analyses a fairly regular thing, so if you like what you see here in this video, please consider subscribing. I'll greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to sharing more of this content with you. Thank you. So Harry Potter. It's big, it's grand, massive, tons of people know about it, tons of people love it. It has had a huge impact on popular culture, and the question is, how exactly did this happen? Why did so many people fall in love with this franchise? And to explore this answer, at least in part, I'm going to be going back to the very beginning, to when Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone first published in 1997. And the reason I'm going back to the beginning is because based on the little bit of research that I did about this book, it was pretty successful almost right off the bat. There were huge sales of this book. It received several awards, lots of critical acclaim, and perhaps most importantly and significantly, it had the significant adoration of its audience of young readers. So clearly, J.K. Rowling did something right in the very beginning. But what did she do exactly? What about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone made it so appealing to so many people? And after reading through this book, I've whittled down the answer to two words: wish fulfillment. The Sorcerer's Stone basically manipulates the reader into liking it by fulfilling internal desires that many people have. A lot of stories try to make the audience feel or think in a specific way that they otherwise wouldn't of their own volition. Sorcerer's Stone, on the other hand, takes kind of a shortcut by amplifying emotions or ideas that the audience already has. And like an addictive drug, this is something that audience members just can't get enough of. So if you are trying to write a story that people will insatiably fall in love with, by looking at the Sorcerer's Stone, here is how you can do so through wish fulfillment. So Harry Potter himself very well embodies the archetype of a down-and-out underdog. He's orphaned, lonely, trapped in a hellish home with people who actively despise him. He's starting off in a pretty low place. And although this personal situation of his is a rather intense, extreme one, it still exemplifies many of the things that audience members have probably felt before: isolation, melancholy, hopelessness, being misunderstood. But why would these negative emotions be effective for building up a wish fulfillment? For one, it makes the main character more likable when he responds to this negativity with positivity. Harry may be in the crapper, but he is still a good-natured fellow who doesn't react to his situation with bitterness. But secondly, these negative feelings give us something to overcome. They are the reason that we chase wish fulfillment, not just in the book, but in real life. Most of us, at some point, have felt like we were in Harry's situation: out of place, alone, misunderstood. The Sorcerer's Stone establishes this emotional state so that there can be a satisfying payoff when we eventually do get to the wish fulfillment part. At the very beginning of the book, when Dumbledore and gang are delivering baby Harry to the Dursleys, we establish that there is something inherently special about Harry. And it is this inherent specialness that gives us the antidote to all of those negative underdog feelings. As we go through the first few chapters, seeing how terrible Harry's world is, we maintain the hope of something better by carrying the pre-established notion that Harry is destined for something better. This is when the wish fulfillment really begins to be achieved. In real life, people yearn to feel special and validated, a desire that is exacerbated if someone feels alone and misunderstood. This is exactly the situation that the early sections of the Sorcerer's Stone put us in. Harry is down and out in a way that we can identify with, but he is also established to be inherently special in some way, which helps remedy that negative situation. And it is this dynamic that gives us the basis for a satisfying, effective wish fulfillment arc. So for most stories, it's important to establish the story's trajectory early on. There can be twists and turns and changes later, but generally, you need to give the reader a sense of direction and purpose near the very beginning. What are the goals of the characters? What actions must they take to accomplish these goals? And what imperatives do they have to actually do this? Now, this is a whole other topic for another discussion, but the point is that for most of the first half of the Sorcerer's Stone, none of these usually important things exist. These usually important plot elements just aren't there. What is Harry's goal? What is the imperative? What actions must he take? And the closest thing that we get to this is Harry trying to get his letters from Hogwarts. His goal is the letter. His imperative is that he is lonely and has never been contacted by anyone before. And the required action is to outmaneuver his aunt and uncle who want to keep the letter away from him. But beyond this particular fairly brief sequence, there isn't much else in the way of plot early on in the book. Even when Hagrid whisks Harry off and arrives at Hogwarts, it really is just Harry wandering around and not really pursuing any end goal. It isn't until Harry and his friends discover that someone is trying to steal the Sorcerer's Stones that we get any sense of a real central driving conflict. But that doesn't happen until page 142. And yes, I noted the exact page number because when I saw that moment, I thought, finally, a real central conflict. But something perplexed me, because up to this point, I had still really enjoyed the story, despite the fact that there was no central main conflict. So, how is that possible? How can a story have drive without there being a driving conflict? And for the Sorcerer's Stone, the answer for this is anticipation. What I mean by anticipation is that most of the book's first half is just hyping things up. Going into Harry's miserable life with the Dursleys, we already know that he is special and will do great things in the future. And the more strange, magical things that happen, the more we look forward to the payoff of seeing our wishes fulfilled. When the letters start coming for Harry, that is the first instance that we see that somebody is interested in him. For a sad, isolated person like him, and for the reader who relates to him, this is extremely exciting and heightens our sense of anticipation. When Hagrid finally whisks Harry away, we begin to learn about what makes Harry special and the types of opportunities that are being granted to him, such as magical wonders, elaborate gifts, or elaborate by his former humble standards, tasty treats, and literal fame and fortune. The shopping trip through Diagon Alley is an escalation of hype. We start with menial school supplies, school books, but then gradually build up to an exotic animal companion, and then a freaking magic wand, the quintessential element of being a wizard, and it is being a wizard that is helping fulfill our wishes. We are now starting to further insert ourselves into being part of a greater, more extraordinary world that is distinct from the dreary, miserable one that we want to escape. That is the building of anticipation. That is wish fulfillment. Kind of going off of the idea of anticipation, the arrival at Hogwarts is the real meaty payoff to that anticipation. The entire time, we have been building up the readers and Harry's mutual desire to be special and escape their miserable world. And Hogwarts, or something similar that you come up with, is the solution to that. It is what gives us everything that we want, both for what we want to see Harry have and for what we personally want to have. Friends, being popular, being liked, having unique skills, winning favor from tons of people and experiencing triumph, being placed in a unique characterizing group. These are all wish fulfillment. And another unique aspect about Hogwarts is that it not only provides a place to watch Harry achieve wish fulfillment, but it also allows the reader to imagine themselves as a Hogwarts student who goes through the exact same motions. You hear it a lot. Which Hogwarts house would the Sorting Hat put you in? What would playing Quidditch be like? What would it be like to use magic, to have a magic wand? The reader can easily superimpose themselves into this world because a slot is made available for them, the slot of being a student at Hogwarts. It's kind of like an amusement park ride that allows the reader to put themselves into the seat and imagine going on the journey for themselves. Not only are we watching a story where we see wishes get fulfilled, we're seeing a situation or a place where it actually can happen for us. So if you as a writer want to employ this kind of wish fulfillment strategy, here's what you need to do. 1. Identify the wish or desire. What do people want to experience? For Sorcerer's Stone, those things were being special, being unique, being liked, being gifted, having a group to belong to. Number 2, identify the negative. What kind of situation do people want to escape? Either IRL or come up with a bad situation that the reader can at least understand and sympathize with. What bad feelings do they not want to experience anymore? What bad feelings or bad situation do they want to be remedied? For Sorcerer's Stone, it was loneliness, isolation, sadness, being misunderstood. Number 3, establish a protagonist or protagonists who is experiencing that bad situation, but in some way that you come up with. Also hint at the fact that a solution is inbound. In the case of the Sorcerer's Stone, it was that Harry was inherently special and that he was destined to be a wizard. But you need to promise to your wizard, through some mechanism that you decide on, that something good is coming to fix this bad situation. Number 4, build anticipation. Show bits and pieces and hints of the wish fulfillment that is coming. And number 5, build an amusement park ride that the reader can put themselves in. Give them a slot that they can insert themselves in so that they can imagine living their own adventure in this world. The objective is to validate the reader's feelings and desires, so give them a self-imposable scenario that they can imagine them experiencing for themselves. In the Sorcerer's Stone, this was done to provide a sense of belonging and of feeling special. You have a group that you belong to, but are still unique enough compared to other people, other normal people. And your amusement park ride can be whatever you want, and it can fulfill any kind of wish that you want. Admittedly, a lot of this is kind of convoluted and nuanced and hard to put into words, so I highly recommend that you go back and reread The Sorcerer's Stone and especially pay attention to that first half of the book. With all of the stuff I've told you in your mind, see what lessons you can learn for yourself so that you yourself can write good wish fulfillment.